Everyone, it's 8:05 Pacific time. This is Qdabra Software's weekly webinar. My name is Ernesto Machado, and we typically start things off at 8:05 a.m. I see that some people still have their status on green. If you're ready to go ahead with the webinar, please switch your feedback color to purple. That'll let me know that you are ready to continue. I have a large group today. If you have any questions, Live Meeting offers a Q&A option in your menu. We can manage questions via that feature. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to answer the questions at the end of the presentation. So I apologize if I let them accumulate there while I'm presenting. This webinar is going to talk about reusable workflow sections in InfoPath, and this was a topic that we've done on a webinar in the past, and there was a lot of interest from some people, and there were a couple of things that could be improved in the reusable section that we presented. So we've gone ahead and we've revised that workflow section. And we're presenting that again today for you. I'm going to go ahead and get started. If anybody has audio issues, can't hear me, can't understand, let me know, and I'll slow down or repeat myself or modify my mic settings. If there's something in Q&A right now, but I can't see it. Anyway, we'll get started. Okay, my slide isn't going forward, but that's okay. I'll just open it from my local machine. Move down, there we go. No, it's not going. Patrick, do you know why the slides are not going forward?
Well, do you want to just share out your screen, your desktop? That might...
There we go. Well, it's easier to keep my forms open here. Anyway, so it's going now. Sorry about that. So what's the workflow section? That was part of the title. Workflow section, what we're talking about is a reusable template part. It's a control that you design in InfoPath, and once it's designed and it's working the way you want it, you add it to your InfoPath designer as a custom control. And then you can drag and drop it. You can use it in other forms. It becomes a control in your InfoPath designer that you can reuse as many times as you want. And you can pre-configure it. You can have data connections, you can have rules, you can have a specified schema, a layout that gets shown in the canvas to users. So what we're doing with this specific template part that we're showing today is that we're going to record assignment, we're going to track history, and we're going to handle, it's going to handle the routing of the form. So in essence, it's a workflow, XTP. And why is it, this is important because if you have workflow that is in place in your business and that workflow is important in many processes, you want that workflow to be consistent. It's an XTP that is easy to add, and it's easy to use, and it's easy to maintain. It's all in InfoPath. It's all in InfoPath and SharePoint, right? So there's no other third-party dependence here. There's no dependence on code. There's no dependence on SharePoint Designer. This is everything you can do here in InfoPath. You can change approvers, and you don't need to republish your XSN forms. The workflow is controlled externally from the forms. And you can give your template part a customized look and feel. So you can make it, you can redesign it so that such that the canvas matches the your company's colors, your company's logo, etc. You can use the fields and promote them as SharePoint columns, and these will help you for metrics, for reporting, and it'll allow your users to quickly see the status, the assignment, etc. So there's no SharePoint config, there's no SharePoint designer, no SharePoint workflow. The example that we're going to show today is set up on a SharePoint form library, but this could be set up to work with email as well. So before I go to this slide, let me show you the actual XTP. And this is the XTP. I'm going to open the Manage Rules task pane because I want to make sure that you see the schema here, and I want you to see some of the rules. So this is the XTP. You see that it's InfoPath Designer, and it has a workflow. It has 3 approvers. Obviously, if you need more approvers, that can be handled. If you need less as well. And we have a history table here that is going to show us the entire history of this form's workflow. These instructions are just so that the user can configure it correctly in their form. So let me show you a data connection. So for example, this template part comes with a data connection that is going to pull in your workflow. And your workflow is stored as an XML file somewhere on SharePoint. So that's what I meant when I said that the workflow is external. You can modify the workflow. You don't need to republish your form. The workflow is all stored in this XML file. The XTP is going to pull in that workflow, that sequence of approvers, and is going to use it to perform the assignments. And let me show you the approve button. So you can see, I'm not going to go through all these one by one. Once you get your hands on the XTP, you can do that on your own. But you can see that our submit, our approve, our reject buttons, they have all been pre-configured with data validation, with formatting, and with rules. So this is the power of the XTP, that you don't need to repeat this for every form. You just do it once, and then you inject your XTP into however many forms you want. So the XTP gets injected into your form, and there's some configuration steps here just to make sure that it's pointing to your SharePoint instance, for example. So once you go through that, let's see if I can go back to, there we go. So this is what I just described, right? We're going to create an XSN. You can publish it to SharePoint just to, you're going to create the workflow XSN, and that workflow XSN is going to fill out your XML. You're going to see that in a second. We're going to store it in SharePoint. That's the data connection that I just showed you. We're going to pull the workflow from that XML. Our XTP is going to pull information from that XML, and then we can add that XTP into our InfoPath forms. So let's get right to it. First thing I'll show you is our workflow config. So this is a pretty simple form. All it does is it asks us for the possible paths. So at this stage I have 3 possible paths. The first one goes like this. The second one has approver 1, approver 2, approver 3. The third one goes like that. Of course, we don't need we don't need 3 approvers at each stage. We can have 1, we can have 2, we can have 3. If you wanted to extend it to more, that's possible. We're just sticking with 3 for this example. And you can add more. You can have as many paths as you want. And then once you're done, you just save this. And it gets stored in the location, so workflow config.xml. And that workflow config XML is what's getting pulled in through this data connection in your XTP. Okay, so you saw these three levels, right? These possible workflow paths, 1, 2, 3. So what do those mean? When we come to the form, your form is always going to have to force the user to make that choice, right? In this case, what I have done is I have this drop-down called type, just a company type, government, nonprofit, small, medium business, or a large corporation. And depending on what you select here, we're going to be pulling in a different workflow. So for example, if I pull in government, and I expand the form assignment section, we're going to see that approver 1 is me, approver 2 is Mel, approver 3 is me, and if we go back to the workflow config, that's exactly what we have here. So let's say I'm going to change this just to show you that it can be changed fairly easily. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to the form, and I'm going to try that again. And I'm going to select government, and it's going to have Patrick as the third approver because I made that change in the workflow config. So this drop-down is what's selecting our workflow path. So let's say I fill this out, some dummy data because it's okay. And we'll say please contact ASAP, and we'll submit that. So I got submitted, and let me sort that by sending orders so it's a little easier to see. So you'll see that this just got submitted, and it got assigned to myself. You know, I made the unfortunate choice of putting myself as the first approver, but that's okay because this is a demo, and I can show you that when I open the form, it was submitted by me. You see that in green. It's assigned to me because I'm the first approver. And because I'm the approver, I get these approve and reject buttons. And I'm gonna say approved, and I'm gonna approve this, and it's gonna get submitted. And you see that the data refreshed here. And if you notice the assigned to column, it says it's now assigned to Mel. So if I reopen this, I'm not gonna have those buttons available because I'm not in the workflow. The current approver is Mel's, and I'm not Mel, so I can't do anything with the form. So since this is assigned to Mel, I'm going to ask Mel to share out her screen and show us what she sees now that it's assigned to her. And Mel, you don't need to talk, I can talk. Just show us your screen. Maybe Mel is not a presenter. Do I have to hand over control? I thought you could grab control on your own.
This is Patrick. She's got a presenter status, and you can, if we can get it to me, maybe you can change the workflow right now. Send me a link, and I can open it. There it
Okay.
Hold on, I think she's trying to share.
There it goes.
I'm trying to share. Sorry.
Thanks, Mel.
Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
Still looks blank to me in Seattle here.
Yeah, it looks like it was trying to refresh, and then it stopped sharing.
Ernesto, do you want to assign it to me and have me open it?
Yep. While we were doing that, I'm gonna create a new one here. Okay, Patrick, there is one assigned to you right now.
Great. Refreshing my screen, and I'm going to share. We got a large screen, so I hope this isn't causing too much problems for people. But try this out here. Okay, Ernesto, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Okay, I'm assuming I'm opening the one here at 819. Is that correct?
Yes. See the assigned to columns as your alias. So there we go. It's assigned to Patrick. You see that Patrick has the approve and reject buttons. Once he approves, you see that approver 2 is me. So I'll get to show you that. But before I show you that, if you look at just that third row in Patrick's screen, you'll see that it was refreshed, and now it says assigned to Ernesto M. So the workflow went forward.
I think it went forward so fast that it's closed the form.
So I have refreshed my screen, and here is the one that Patrick submitted, and I'll come back to it. And here's the workflow. It has the history where I submitted. Text is a little small right now, but that can be changed easily. And then it has the second step in the history where Patrick approved. And, well, let's say, like, I don't like this. And I'm going to reject it, and it's going to go back to Patrick. And I mean, we don't need to go through this for infinity, but it just shows that now it's assigned back to Patrick. So you can make the workflow go forwards and backwards. Once it gets to the final stage, the status will go to approved, and nobody else will have any buttons to submit. And I can show you that in this one. This is one that we had submitted before the call. So you'll see that status is approved, and I don't have any controls to be able to submit this. Now if I can get the content back on the screen. There we go. So you can do a lot with InfoPath workflow, and this was just an example, a quick example. And you don't need to send, you don't need to involve your IT department with any approvals that require SharePoint workflows, deploying and maintaining SharePoint workflows. So an InfoPath workflow is going to save you deployment trouble. And SharePoint workflow, so this is a quick comparison. SharePoint workflow is going to happen on the server. You need to create it using SharePoint Designer. You need to maintain it. It has the benefit of being integrated with SharePoint, so you're going to have it available for documents and lists and etc. But it has a high maintenance overhead, right? An InfoPath workflow, you're controlling that routing and rules. You're creating it in InfoPath Designer. You're designing it yourself. You can publish the form yourself. You can customize the UI however you want it. You can create this reusable control, and you can make it a part of all of your forms. It's going to be a consistent workflow. It's going to be a consistent process for your users. And since the data is in the form, the data is in the XML, that means that if your XML is getting exported, if your XML is getting used by any other process, then that data is available for reporting. You're going to know who it's assigned to. You're going to know the status of the item. So let me check the questions tab. I don't see anything in the Q&A section. But I'll open the floor up to questions if anybody is brave here. And you saw this working in the browser. We try to show everything in the browser. Obviously, it works in the client as well. It's probably simpler to do it in the client actually, but it works in the browser.
I have a question. This is Patrick. And I have a question. I guess it's for Marcy. Put Marcy on the spot here. Marcy, do you want to just quickly go over this new Quick Start training that we're putting together? It's a simple training class that we're offering for folks that's easy to schedule, not a huge time commitment, very inexpensive. Do you want to go over that real quick?
Sure. Let's see if I can share my. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, it's coming in. Just trying to render. There it goes. You can see it?
I hope you guys can see it. I can't tell on my end. We have a couple of training programs coming up. The first one is the Quick Start program, which is a new program. It's 30 minutes per day for 1 week, and we have we're going to cover 5 different topics. The next class is going to be either next week, and we also have one coming up on February 13th. The cost is $250. We also have a master training class for InfoPath coming up, and that is a more intensive program. It's either a 3-day or a 5-day format, and you can get information on those links.
Thanks. And for those of you who can't pronounce Qdabra, don't feel so bad. I can't pronounce Qdabra either.
And that was me trying to get the slide up really fast, so I apologize.
No, it looks good. Looks great. If people have questions, looks like we have 3 questions now. Ernesto, do you want we'll be replying to you. I guess so. We'll take these one at a time here. Brian's got the first one. Let's see, Ernesto, you're on, so whoever wants to answer this, I guess we'll just read it here. I caught the end of the presentation. Can this be done in SharePoint 2007 and InfoPath 2007 as well? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. We haven't done anything that is specific to SharePoint 2010. We haven't done anything that's specific to InfoPath 2010. Of course, the XTP is probably designed for InfoPath 2010, so there's, we will have to reopen it and save it down as InfoPath 2007. But yes, it can be done. It's just a matter of designing it for the right format.
There's nothing in the XTP that is 2010, that it requires 2010, right? Yeah. Corey's got the next question here, and we're going to be sending you out the package. If you've registered for the webinar, you will get that XTP that Ernesto presented. You'll also get the presentation deck. There's actually a couple things you'll get because there's a couple different forms we're using, the workflow config form and the XTP, as well as the sample form. Next question from Corey. In the reusable workflow, is it possible to set up the routing to pull from a department lookup? Yeah, correct. That's exactly what Ernesto showed at the ID field. For example, if the routing varies from form by form, can the employee use a combo box to select the affected departments and then department managers are added to the form? Yeah, that's exactly what he was really getting at there. Was it is a data driven based on that ID field. Your ID field could be like cost center, whatever, and that's how you would do that. Ernesto, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I think I'm showing the form here, and there's always we're just doing one level here, right? So the user just comes in and just picks, this is government, this is nonprofit, for example. But you could add another level, of course. You could have 2 levels, right? And the user has to pick from the first drop down, and they have to pick from the second drop down, and then it selects the workflow. So it doesn't matter. It's pretty easy to set that up. The point is that we're pulling from this workflow config, so there's really nothing hard-coded into the form. It's all sitting in the workflow config.
And Justin's got the third question here. Do you have any examples of more complex workflows beyond just people approving or not? And that's a great question, Justin, because this is not meant to be a really complex workflow. This is only meant for these simple kinds of workflows. If you've got a very complex workflow that has more than, I'd say, 5 or 10 different states, you're probably not going to want to use this approach. And the reason being is it's just too hard to maintain in the config file. You could do it. It would be very complex, but you're probably better off moving to one of these server-based workflows for very complex workflows. If you've got a simple back and forth ad hoc workflow, though, this is definitely one of the options that is easy to use, as Ernesto was mentioning. So I guess that's it for the questions. And Corey is just saying thank you. Question number 2, are the new InfoPath Quick Start courses available online? Correct. They are all online, and we don't go to your location there to present them. You just sign up, and it's like Marcy was saying, it's half an hour a day, 5 days for the week, so it's a nice jump start to your day as you're sipping your morning coffee or whatever. We will be giving you really core essential tidbits here on your InfoPath solutions, techniques that you can use to improve your effectiveness and wow your customers there wherever you may be. And if you want to sign up for that, we do have some slots available for next week. We'd be happy to have you join us. And we do require a deposit to hold the spot for you, but it is a very inexpensive class, and that's kind of why we've created it. We wanted to create something that was inexpensive. You get a lot of freebies. You get of course the time, the content, all that stuff, and you get our time. So I guess I just said that, but we're hoping that we'll have a lot of people join us. And I think that's it for today. We try to schedule these for about 20 minutes every Thursday, so we look forward to seeing you next week. Also, we have a Qrules webinar coming up at 9 a.m. If you are familiar with Qrules, if you have a license for Qrules, or if you're just looking at a trial, I would encourage you to join us for that webinar. Marcy, do you have the link for that webinar? Did you? It's not the same webinar; it's different. Do you want to quickly show that link maybe to people so that if they're interested, they can go to it?
Yes. Let's see if I can figure out how to get that up. It's hang on.
And Hillary will be presenting, I think she's presenting how to use the Save to SharePoint command to convert your images into links in SharePoint using the browser-based forms in the sandbox. So we've had a number of customers asking us about this sandbox scenario for Save to SharePoint when you're converting those images or attachments in your form into links. Of course, having the images and attachments as links provides two things. One is your forms are smaller, so they render more quickly in the browser. And also, those links allow you to have people edit the data, the attached data, where maybe it's an image, maybe it's a document. They can actually edit that document without opening InfoPath. So converting your images and attachments into links is a very good best practice. And Hillary will be presenting kind of a, I guess, an add-on discussion there about how you do it when you don't want to get your IT staff involved. In other words, you've got a form that has Qrules, you want to deploy it in the browser, and you don't want to admin approve it. You just want to use the sandbox. Sandbox is a great feature in 2010. Sandbox allows you to deploy forms without going to your IT staff. So do you have that link, Marcy? If not, I guess we could. It should be on our website as well. If you go to our website, look underneath training, Qdabra.com training, you should be able to find the weekly webinar for Qrules. And if not, you can just email Course Manager, and we will set you up. So if you're interested in that class, we look forward to having it. It's in about 25 minutes. And thanks for joining us today. Hope you have a great day. And I think Marcy's trying to share that link out right now. I think you can see that there. That is going to be that's great. We got a converted link there. A small link for you. That's great. And you can just use that to attend the Qrules webinar if you're interested in that. And that's going to be at 9 a.m. And that's free. And we look forward to having you and next week as well. Let us know if you're interested in the quick start. Otherwise, we'll see you same time next week for the free 8 a.m. webinar. And we haven't picked the topic yet, so if you're interested in a topic, please don't hesitate to forward your suggestions to that Course Manager, all one word, Course Manager at Qdabra.com alias. Thank you very much. Have a great day.